This video was brought to you by the lovely members of my Patreon. There really is such a difference in the sex that you have with somebody who cares about you and the sex that you have with somebody who is devaluing you, who is seeing sex with you as a thing that they have stolen from you, conquered over you. Hey guys, it's Kat and it's time for another episode of True Tea. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me here for yet another episode of True Tea. We do these videos every single week at Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I greatly appreciate those you guys who come back every single week ready for a fresh brew of True Tea. Anyway, how have you guys been? What have you guys been up to? What have you guys been doing? I've been great. I have been just trying to... Let me not lie for a second. Let's walk that back. I have not been amazing. I have been very stressed. I mean, compared to everything going on in the world right now, I'm doing well. But these past couple of weeks have actually been quite hard. You guys have noticed that I've been putting out more content. I'm finally allowing other people to edit my videos, which is honestly very makes me very nervous because I have not ever done that in the 15 years of my time being on YouTube. So I'm actually quite nervous about it all, but I'm very excited that I'm taking little steps, little baby steps towards allowing myself to grow and expand on here. And part of me doing that is allowing other people to do some of the work that I do. So we'll see how that comes out. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, let me not lie to y'all and say that everything's been okay when, girl, we've been struggling over here. Anyway, we're gonna be having a conversation about hookups. So before we do, I would highly suggest you go to your kitchen and grab yourself something to drink. Personally, I am drinking some almond milk because I'm too lazy to put tea on right now. This is a cup that was sent to me by one of my followers. They also sent me a ton of CDs. Thank you, shout out to Blue for sending this to me. Thank you so much for sending me stuff. I love receiving packages. You guys know that you can always send me something in the mail. I love to see it. I appreciate like little pieces of art and things like that. So thank you so much to everybody who's ever sent me a package. So yeah, anyway, it says, I'm a ray of fucking sunshine. And I think that that is quite appropriate for me, if I do say so myself. Anyway, I'm gonna sip this and let's get right into this conversation. So, I thought that we'd talk about hookups because you guys know that in quarantine, Tinder has been very, very entertaining to me. Actually, Tinder banned me recently. They probably didn't like when I asked men to send me money on Cashapp after they asked me stupid questions. I think that probably got back to them. But I have so many interesting conversations that come out from Tinder for me because I just find it so interesting how people interact with each other. And one of the things that I say at the very, 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 very top of my Tinder profile is no hookups, right? And I don't do hookups for many, many reasons. And I thought that we would talk about that in this video and also hookup culture, because I'm actually quite curious how some of you guys feel, because I have my feelings and I don't think I've ever really fully expressed them. I think I've kind of danced around them. So this is gonna be a whole video about that. So hopefully you guys will enjoy this ride wherever it goes. So as you guys know, I'm polyamorous. That means that I believe that I can be in love with more than one person. And I am not a poly person who is polyamorous because I just love having a ton of sex and just need, strange dick everywhere. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's just not my personal approach to polyamory. I'm polyamorous because I believe that I can be in love with more than one person. And currently I'm in several relationships right now. I care about all of my partners very, very much. And honestly, part of me caring for my partners is being extra sexually responsible. I don't ever want to put my partner's partners, my metamors, in a situation where something that I've done has compromised their health. So if there's one big reason why I don't hook up, it's that. I don't hook up for that reason. But I'm not gonna say that I've never hooked up. I'm not gonna say that I've never, in recent times, even during this damn pandemic, thought about hooking up. But for me, I don't hook up for a lot of reasons. And You know, frankly, we've talked a lot about sex on this channel and about my sort of modular feelings around sex positivity and consent and all of that. And I think for me, one of the things that I've been trying to unpack is the fact that the boundaries that I set when I was young, the boundaries that I said I was going to stick to when I was young were never the wrong boundaries. Let me repeat that. The boundaries that I set when I was young were never the wrong boundaries. Now, if you've been watching my channel every single week and you've been catching up with this video, you probably already know where this is gonna go. But one of the common themes that I've been trying to unpack in quarantine as I do my self-reflection is that I have, in so many different ways in life, internalized the desires of men and those desires that have pushed me away from my own. There have been so many situations where I have not quite stuck to my guns and maybe settled for a little bit less than I know I deserved because of what I felt a man wanted from me and what I felt giving sex or any sort of intimacy to a man would do for me. And so for me, one of the things that I've been trying to sort of snap myself out of is the fact that it's okay for me to have standards. It's okay for me to say no. It's okay for me to know what I don't enjoy and what I don't like and to set it there and stick to it. There's truly no reason. There's truly no reason for me to sacrifice my standards for a man because, you know, I don't want to beat up on men on this channel, but I can't think of a time when it was ever worth it. We've talked about this recently, but I can't think of a time. Let me know if you can. I can't think of a time where I've gone out of my comfort zone for a man and done something I knew I didn't want to do, and it's benefited me in any way. I can't think of a time when that's happened. And so for me, it's very important for me to recognize that the goals and boundaries that I set for myself way back when, before I even had much experience with dating and romance, are valid. And of course, when I was younger, I was like a lot of people. I didn't want to be in relationships where a guy just wanted to have sex with me. I wanted love and romance and all these other things. But I was often in situations, especially as a trans woman, where men would communicate to me that the only thing they wanted from me was sex. The only thing that they were interested in me is being this sort of sexual outlet for them that they can put away when they don't want. And I've always known that that is not what I wanted from a relationship. I've always known that, but there were times in my life where I didn't quite stick to that. I think a lot about how when I was younger, there were so many situations where men would just outright disrespect me. And instead of saying to myself, hey, this is disrespectful and I don't deserve it, I would grovel and apologize and make myself smaller so that these men that I was interacting with could still be interested in me. Because of course, back then, a man's interest in me was so important. It was so validating that I didn't want to potentially lose that source of validation. But what I've recognized with time is that men ain't shit. No offense. Some of my best friends are men, but men ain't shit. And so again, those boundaries and those things that I set for myself from a very young age are valid. And I don't think I've ever wanted to be in a relationship with a man who used me for sex. But as we've discussed several times on this channel at this point, I've been in a lot of those relationships. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about in this video, because here's the thing. I know in some of my videos, I've referred to hookups as these very unloving and uncaring relationships. And I understand that it is kind of a false dichotomy. Well, it is a false dichotomy to say that somebody who wants to have casual sex with you could never care for you in any real way, right? I understand that that's a false dichotomy. And I think especially women, we frequently conflate those things. We frequently conflate this man who only wants to have sex with us as a man who couldn't possibly care about us, because that's how it feels. Let's just be honest for a second. That's how it feels. One of the things that I'm also trying to unpack right now is the fact that so many men view sex as a thing that they win from a woman, sex as a thing that they take from a woman, right? They've conquered her, they've taken her, she's slipped up and decided to give herself to him. And a lot of these men will look at you as someone who has lost something the moment you've given yourself to them. A lot of these men, and so frequently men who have sex with, I mean, I've been in a lot of, let me just speak for myself. I can't speak for everybody, but I've been in a lot of situations where I say to this guy, you know what? I want respect. I want to be treated fairly. I want to be treated with dignity. And then they'll pantomime it. They'll do all the things that you're supposed to do. And then you lower your guard. You open yourself up and you have sex with them. And the moment that they've had sex with you, the facade lifts. I don't know if you've had that experience. I've had that experience several times in my life where I only open myself up to somebody because I think that they're going to be the kind of man that I want them to be because they've been so good at dancing and seeming like that's what they want it to be. But I reveal it and I open myself up and that turns out not to be the case. That turns out to very much not be the case. And it's always really devastating when I've been in that situation. It hasn't really happened like recently in my life, but I still remember like the exact men who have done this to me. And so it's not like women don't have a reason to conclude that when a man only wants to have sex with them, that they don't care about them, because so frequently men do have these very, very toxic ideas about sex that leads them to mistreat women that they have sex with. That is just, you know, and so one of the things that I've been trying to tell myself and also encourage, you know, the women in my life to do is to hold on to those standards that you had when you were younger, because those standards were not wrong. Those standards were not wrong. You are not wrong for wanting to hold off, wanting to wait, wanting to not quite allow sex to happen. There's really nothing wrong with that. There's truly nothing wrong with that. And I think that sometimes you can get really caught up in the sort of contemporary sex positive talk that, you know, where you can feel like you not being open to having sex is somehow a failing on your end, a lack of positivity, a flaw in your ideology. But in truth, there's nothing wrong with not wanting to have sex when you don't want to have sex. There really isn't. So for me personally, I look at it like this, just being real about my current life. We talked about this in my last video, but I learned that sex for me is the best when I have it with somebody who cares about me. And there really is such a difference in the sex that you have with somebody who cares about you and the sex that you have with somebody who is devaluing you, who is seeing sex with you as a thing that they have stolen from you, conquered over you, right? That sex is so different. That sex is so different. So currently, just looking at the situation as it is, I've got my partners who clearly care about me, who I've been with for a while, who have put in the time and energy and effort into developing some sort of relationship with me. What am I gonna get out of some random dude who doesn't want any of that? What am I gonna do? What am I gonna get out of some random dude who doesn't want any of that? You know what I mean? It's just hard for me to justify it. Now, I'm not gonna say, girl, now let's just be real. I have talked about it on here before, that there have been little situations. There have indeed been situations where I have tripped and fell on a dick. You know, it happens to, it happens to the best of us. Those situations have definitely happened. I have, but you know what? The thing about those situations is that oh God, I can't think of a time when I've actually, in the long term, been okay with it. Like every time that I've had super casual sex, there's really not a time where I could genuinely say that it was enjoyable or that it was good for me mentally and emotionally, that it did the thing I needed it to do. I mean, there are probably parts of it that were exciting or interesting or an adventure. But most of the time, it's just not what I want. It's just not what I want. I love connecting with a man in a very deep and intimate way where we know each other's bodies like the back of our hands. I know what little thing he likes. He knows what little thing I like. Well, I don't really like little things, but that's another conversation. But you know what I mean? We know each other and we have familiarity with each other and we have intimacy with each other that's ugly. You know, we do that ugly shit with each other that like we wouldn't do with most people. Or we have these specific things that we do with each other. And that to me is so much sexier than, you know, the hottest guy in the world just wanting to fuck me for a night. Now, if Jason Momoa were to knock on my door tomorrow and say, hey, Kathryn, I want to throw you some dick, I may say yes, but in truth, I probably would say no. I mean, because that's really what it is. What's so funny to me is that I've definitely been in situations where the idea was sexy, or I was talking to a guy and he was hot and I was like in the mood or whatever, but the reality isn't sexy to me. The reality of him walking away from me and it just being that's just not sexy to me. I can't, and it's just the personal way that I feel. When I talk to a dude who all he could do is talk to me about how much he wants to fuck me, in my mind, I'm imagining a child. I'm imagining like a horny child who can't control himself. And that is not sexy to me. It's not attractive to me. I like men, you know, and I tend to like men who are a bit older than me, you know. And so, you know, I don't find it attractive. You know, a 45-year-old dude could talk to me in a horny voice and I'm imagining a 17-year-old and I'm not attracted to that, you know? But yeah, I was having this argument with this guy about this because he was trying to fuck and I was like, no. And he was like, oh, well, you're demisexual. And he was so insistent about it. And I was like, please don't tell me what my sexuality is, sir. I know what my sexuality is. I'm very, very clear about what my sexuality is. I don't need to be corrected. But yeah, no, for me, I do get quite a bit more turned on when I am having a connection with somebody that is intellectual, where we clearly understand each other, where I have gotten to know this person and trust them. And for me, sex is always better that way. Always. I'm not down on anybody who has sex another way, but I'm just very much invested in having healthy, good sexual relationships with people who give a fuck about me. Again, you know, and girl, I'll be transparent and say that there have been plenty of times where I've entertained the idea, but so frequently it just stays an idea. I don't actually do anything. It's just like a thought that I have, or maybe a text that I send. But I'm very curious how you guys feel about hookups, because I feel like it's such an interesting conversation. I think that there's so much exploration to do sexually in your life that some people do that through hookups. Of course, one of my own personal reservations with hookups is that I don't want to be anyone's fucking experiment. So for me, most of the men who approach me, I mean, and this may be totally wrong, it probably is, I always assume that most men who approach me are probably trying to get some weird little fetish checklist situation. And I just don't want to be part of that, sir. I just truly don't want to be part of that. You know, you're gonna have to make it worthwhile. No, I don't want to be part of it. I don't want to be part of it. I'd rather not. I have better things to do with my life. So, you know, I just have no interest in that. So I'm very curious how you guys feel about hookups and how you guys feel about that weird dichotomy that we often express about whether or not a person who wants a hookup cares about you. I remember seeing this TikTok going around of this guy who was responding to this woman talking about this, and he was saying, you know, I may just want to fuck you, but I want to make sure that you get home okay. I want to make sure that everything's good on your end. That doesn't mean I don't care about you just because I want to have sex with you. I still care. This is not you know, these things are not, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a word that means exchange, but not quite exchange, interchangeable. These things are not interchangeable. Is that right? I don't know if that's right. If you know a better word, let me know. Anyway, on that note, if you guys made it through this entire video, please put this emoji in the comment box below. The emoji is what all the cool kids do. And all the cool kids have been able to see so much growth, so much success. My downline is doing better than ever. And all of the people working under me are their own business owners. They are boss babes. And I think that I know we haven't spoken since high school, but I see you're struggling out there, and I just think that if you put the emoji down in the comment box below, that you and I could take over the world. We could be the hottest girls in the neighborhood. You know, we really could be. All I need from you is a small down payment of $5,000 for our inventory. Just let me know, babe. Here's my email. We can talk later. Anyway, right now you're looking at a video and a playlist relating to this video that you can click through if you would like to continue to sip through true tea. And in the bottom, there's several ways you can send me a tip if that's something that you would like to do. If you want to put your tip in my bugs, if you know what I mean. Yada, yada, blah, blah. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.